All right, for life. Un, dos, tres y. De Alto Cedro voy para Marcané, llego a Cuenco, voy para Mayarí. De Alto Cedro voy para Marcané, llego a Cuenco, voy para Mayarí, Loro. El cariño que te tengo, yo no lo puedo negar. Se me sale la babita, yo no lo puedo aguantar. De Alto Centro voy para Marcané, llego a Cuento, voy para Mayarí. Dororoy, dororoy, doy, dororoy. De Alto Cedro voy para Marcané, llego a Cuento, voy para Mayarí. Cuando Juanita y Chan Chan en el mar cernían arena, como sacudí el jibe, a Chan Chan le daba pena. De Alto Centro voy para Marcané, llego a Cuenco, voy para Mayarí, Doro. Dororoy, dororoy. De Alto Centro voy para Marcané, llego a Cuenco, voy para Mayarí, Dororoy. Doy, dororoy. De Alto Centro voy para Marcané, llego a Cuenco, voy pa' Mayarí. Gracias. Thank you, Chris. That's right. Welcome, everybody. This is today's episode of the podcast. It's with a really good friend, amazing musician. Let's show his name right here. Chris Churchill. How you doing, Chris?
I'm okay. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me, man. This is a
Thanks for inviting me.
a really exciting journey that I decided to go along with. I bring some of my my musician friends and some friends in general, artists, and talking a little bit about science sometimes, as it's part of my passions, music and science. So yeah, we're very excited, Chris, as you guys, some of the locals here in Nova Scotia know Chris is a well-known musician, composer, and arranger. He's traveled the world uh, in different countries and cruise ships, performing music. He's conducted or written music for theater, and yeah, you can always have like finding like busy busy as a musician, as a composer, as an educator. Thank you so much, man. I'm gonna stop the talking here and pass it on to you. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I started music really young. My parents got me into music. Really, it's like a lot of kids. I had piano lessons. Started with piano lessons. Took a few drum lessons, but I was mostly into sports until I was a teenager, around probably 13, 14. I always liked music, always. And I stuck with the piano lessons for about 6 months or a year, or maybe when I was young. And that came back to me later when I was really serious and studied music in college. So I was glad that I had that foundation. But my mom tried to teach me, but that dynamic between mother and child,
Oh, I know that.
other people's kids, you can learn, you can teach them, and you can be more patient. I think your kids.
Was that back in New Brunswick when you were growing up?
That was here in Nova Scotia.
Okay.
My family roots are kind of around Yarmouth, I'd say, but lived in many places, and my elementary school years were in Yarmouth. So then, yeah, so that's where the journey began. And my parents were both into church music. I grew up with church music, and heard pop music at the same time. So, and I always loved, but I was more of a listener then. I was more serious about sports. So the journey really began seriously when I was 14, probably. When I decided, okay, I decided on the bass. I'm gonna study the bass, and this is what I'm gonna go for. So it kind of went from there, and hasn't really stopped.
Yeah.
Other things have happened, but that's where it happened.
However, with my experience and knowing you and having the opportunity to have you play with me, which is a great honor, I see that you have a very diverse taste for music and ambition, interest to perform different music. You're known in the jazz community. You're known into jazz, but also you're very accomplished into Latin music, which is extremely exciting. And I think it has something to do with your experience in Puerto Rico. How come did you end up living in Puerto Rico?
Sure. Yeah, not too many Nova Scotians end up there. It's not a big immigration flow back and forth, but my parents, because I said I was here until elementary school ended, and then my parents moved for a job. My dad was teaching there at a college in Puerto Rico, so we went there, and that's where I went to high school, and that's where I spent my high school years. So I got into, that really had that's really where I got serious about music. That's really where, because I was kind of a hockey player before that, and in Puerto Rico there was no hockey, so I had to give that up. And baseball is a big thing in Puerto Rico, so I still played baseball.
Same as in Cuba.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a bit of a letdown for me. I didn't know what I was going to do, because I was like, hockey was kind of my focus. And then I played baseball for a while, and then I kind of drifted away from sports seriously a bit, and that's when I got into music in Puerto Rico, really seriously. That's where I got my first bass, and that's where I kept taking music lessons and played in high school bands, trying to play the rock music of the time.
Rock music in Puerto Rico, yeah, awesome, yeah. It does exist too, yeah. We have like rock bands in Cuba as well. And who were your main influencers in Puerto Rico that got you a little bit more engaged into the Latin music?
Okay, well, the story kind of keeps going from there, because in Puerto Rico I kind of rejected the Latin music. It's like, not rejected it, but in high school, I don't know, I got into a clique, kind of, like there were some people who really were liking the folkloric music and the Latin music, traditional music, and others that were more into rock. The rock music of the day was kind of hard rock, hair bands that I was into back then. So I wasn't as open as I am now, that's for sure. I was kind of, okay, I'm going to learn this music, this kind of rock music. So I kind of, I didn't look at the Latin music that was there until after I left Puerto Rico. And then I must have listened to it a lot there, because then I kind of missed it when it was gone.
Yeah.
I thought, geez. And when I continued to study music, I said,
back to Canada?
When I came back to Canada, I realized, I had the chance to learn this, and I didn't really appreciate it, right? So I did through osmosis, I got some of it, but through concentrated study, I didn't really get it till later.
Mm-hmm. No, that's so interesting what you said, because it happened to me a little bit, even living in Cuba in my high school years. There's a lot of variety, a lot of influences of music in Cuba, and from my dad's side, I got a lot of the 60s classic rock and all of that, and a little bit of the awareness that there was Celtic music as well in the world. That's thanks to my dad, and obviously naturally influenced by Cuba and Afro-Cuban music, because it happens, the culture there. Mm-hmm. But then I got into this strange teenager mode, probably because I was hanging out with my brother and his older friends, that be kind of like this cool kid. And in high school, I didn't learn there was a huge opportunity for me to become really good at dancing salsa, and I kind of rejected that. I don't know.
Rebellion, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Teenage rebellion.
I could have become like a fairly good standard, at least as a salsa dancer, and it wasn't until years after that I started getting a little bit into that. I mean, I'm not a dancer, but I could throw in some moves now. But that's a kind of an interesting thing. And then when I moved to how I mean when I started traveling to here to Nova Scotia, playing the pipes, as I mentioned in the playing the Spanish pipes, as I mentioned before, uh, back and forth playing festivals. And then when I moved here, I started really missing the home music, and that's how I got back into actually performing like Cuban and Latin music. So sort of like a parallel uh, uh, story there. But then, as you said, you didn't stop there.
Yeah, I really for a while I just listened to salsa and Latin jazz and that kind of music. I just immersed myself in it for about I'd say 2 years almost, and I kind of didn't listen to anything else. It was now I listen to all kinds of things. I don't spend any concentrated time. Okay, I'm not going to listen to anything else until you know until February or something. Now it's whatever interests me, whatever I'm working on, really that I need to study. That's what I'm listening to.
Then you also got into the cruise ship musician gig economy, like traveling the world. That's
Yeah,
gonna
I
be
did
really
that a
exciting, but
lot.
kind of like I don't know, tough. But
Well, it
how? I
was
mean,
both.
never been in
Yeah,
a cruise ship. How,
it was
how was
both.
it?
Yeah, in the beginning, I was excited because I finished music school and I got a job, right?
Yay!
So that was exciting, even though it was a 6 month job, but working 7 days a week. I know a lot of musicians in Halifax and Canada that have worked on cruise ships. So that was great for my training too, because I worked with older musicians that were more experienced than me, and the first band was in, which was very important. I think they were helping me with points where I was kind of weak or where I was had gaps in knowledge. So I I think that was a blessing for me that that I had a band like that kind of mentor me along. And I was with the same band for 6 months. And then after that, I made contacts through different people in the industry and just kept taking jobs and ended up on 30 different ships. And
Whoa!
some of them I went back to again. But the contracts just got shorter and shorter. So, and then I would do some other jobs in between. When I moved to Halifax, I started doing theater gigs at Neptune Theater and gigs with you and festival gigs and church gigs, which church jobs, which is what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
One of the
but
things that kind of surprised. I mean, like you, to be a musician, obviously, music is a big necessity for humanity and a big therapy for all of us. But to see like you know really accomplished musicians like you saying that sometimes it's tough to make a living as a musician. Uh, yeah, I guess it depends on the opportunities where you are placed in the world, I guess. But yeah, how do you find how do you find that? Do you have like periods where it has been like a bit of a struggle, it's been steady, or what would be your takeaway from that from the mu- from the music gig economy?
well, it takes time and it does, like you mentioned, up and down. It's ebbs and flows like any kind of freelance work or any kind of business, restaurant business or anything. As you know, it goes up and down. And for me, I should say I'm primarily what I've worked at is a side person for other accompanying people, like I did with you with the song. And so I've been a bass player a few times. I've had my own music featured, and I like that. But it's nothing. It's not what I've done primarily.
Mhm.
So yeah, but so I'm kind of at the mercy of other people's careers in a way because I play bass for I played bass for a lot of singer songwriters in this part of Canada and and theater gigs too. There are only a few of those around in this area. So
You compose the music for or do all some of the
I,
arrangement for them too?
I've had some jobs orchestrating and arranging, which I like a lot. Um, for local people and theater companies, regional theater companies, a couple people in the states too. So yeah, that's always great when that happens too. It keeps you active and keeps me engaged and and it's a practice. So I need to keep doing it to have that skill and to get better at it and to get faster at it and to get more creative with it. It's like training, I think, for me.
Yeah, no, I like that perspective because the idea of being available as a freelancer, as you call yourself sometimes, being available for others is a way to, like, it's a workout for your brain, more because you're always exposed to new challenges, and you perform jazz, classical, bossa nova, uh, Latin, um, rock,
Yeah.
you name it, right? So I think that's a really good, that brings up a huge integrity and diversity to what you do, and I think it's a really good. You have to be open minded to be able to do that.
And that's key to working as a side person too, as a side musician. For if you're only with one band, unless that band is really successful,
Yeah.
you're not going to make a good living, and maybe that's fine,
Mhm.
right? But for me, I was trying to make a living, and I also wanted to play with different groups
Yeah.
too. I didn't want to play with the same group all the time. To do a tour with a group is great, but it's it's especially if it's we are playing the same songs, the same material night after night in a pop context or rock context, that gets gets more tiring for me than if you're playing jazz or improvisational music, because that can be different every night. Yeah,
That's good. Yeah, but you have also like managed or created bands, right? You have also been the
yeah.
band leader.
I've tried
The
to
band.
produce a few of my own projects. I produced a concert back in October, uh, when there were fewer restrictions. We just a one night concert with two different bands that I played in, Holly Arsenal Trio and
Oh yeah.
Tilit Trio, two different trios. So I decided I was going to produce this concert and play in it, and try and get people to come to it as well. So promote it as well. So you know what that's like, trying to uh, get your own project out there. So
It's a lot of work, man.
it is.
It's
It's easier to be a side person
totally, yeah, totally.
in a way. I mean, it's you don't have as much control when you're a side person, but you don't have as much responsibility either.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because sometimes, I mean, I find I've had like moments in my music career, my young music career, where I push a lot, and then sometimes where you need to rest or you just feel like tired. It's like, oh man, I'm doing all this pushing, and then something's coming up, but you get, I guess, desperate to see the light, but you have to keep trying. But yeah, definitely the amount of work that putting together, working with different schedules, that it could be the musicians that are in your project, working with uh, the venues or the festivals and applications is a lot. And yeah, but so far it's a great experience, and I like to jump at it, even when I have very little knowledge about it, because I find, yeah, you could go to school for and learn. I mean, and take, if you have the time, you want to put the time, you can go to school and take all the necessary formal learning to be a band administrator, business administrator for band. Um, but you can learn as well by just hands on it and listening and then just working on it. And I think that's been a little bit of my experience, which yeah, sometimes I maybe I will, maybe sometimes I'm opening more to be thinking that to maybe I should open more to be like you, more collaborative with other projects, because it's a lot of work, and also it exposes you to more interesting things. Sometimes you're, maybe if you're narrowed into your own little box, then it's fine. It's completely fine for two, but I like learning new stuff, so maybe that's a way of enjoying that, like learning different styles of music. Yeah, man. Going back home, I believe for my journey with you, you recorded an album like years ago with your brother and
Mhm.
some musicians. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I think you even composed songs
Yeah,
there,
two of
and
those songs.
and
Yeah.
in Spanish as well, right? 'Cause-
That wasn't my song, but
Oh, okay.
I arranged that song and produced it, but it wasn't.
Okay.
It was a high school friend from Puerto Rico that wrote that song.
Yeah, because by the way,
Yeah.
Chris is perfectly fluent in Spanish, which is it's a lot of fun to talk in Espanol with him at times. But yeah, tell us about that album.
That was a long time ago, 2000, 2000, year 2000. So 21 years ago when that came out. It was a project I did with my brother, and I was hoping to promote it and get radio airplay, and it did in this part of Nova Scotia on the South Shore. There were 2 radio stations that played one of the songs a lot.
Nice.
So it was really rewarding. When you're driving, you hear your song on the radio. I wasn't singing. My brother's the singer, and I did arrangements and produced it. And we didn't really tour to support it after, so we didn't do another one after that. We did a couple other singles, kind of songs that we produced, and I tried to get out to radio a little bit. Yeah, but it was a great experience, and I did it here. I did part of it in Toronto and part of it in Halifax, and that was before I even moved to Halifax. So I got to meet a few people from Halifax during that thing, because I didn't know anybody. I was just asking the studio where I was doing the recording, who can I get to play guitar on this? I want this on it. I wrote some arrangements for trumpet and trombone for a brass section for one of the tunes, and I said, who can I get to play? So the studio would call this person. So I got to meet some people that I still know today, years later. So that was it was a great project. It was fun. It was a long time ago. It was nice to do something with your family too.
Yeah,
my brother.
I was just gonna say, like, yeah, that's what a dream, right? The two of you. Is it only the two of you? How many siblings?
It was we included a song, I think, from my friend in Puerto Rico and a aunt that is a singer and songwriter too. So I think we included 2 of her songs, and yeah, so they had some family connections and
nice. But there's only you and your brother as siblings, or you have
yes.
more?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. It was just us. It was just the 2 of us.
Okay,
yeah.
That's good. Man, what a great joy to be able to play with your brother. I mean, yeah. Is he older than you?
He's younger. He's
younger. Yeah.
We're close in age, like a year and 4 months.
Yeah. That's what's his first instrument?
He plays guitar. I'd say his first instrument, but he's a singer. That's always in high school when he was playing with us in bands and stuff. He was a great vocalist. He used to do that since he was a little kid. He was always singing.
What a great way to bring
way more than me. I never wanted to sing after I heard him.
Oh, he intimidated you? Come on.
Voice. Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. I find that sometimes you're timid to sing, but yeah, you're great for like supporting the chorus of all the Latin songs. You should do it
That's
more
fun.
often, man. But I think
it's fun when I can hide behind other people.
Yeah, but no, I think it's amazing to have that opportunity to play music is with your family, with your brother. It's wonderful. He's still in New Brunswick, right?
Yeah. He lives there. So
that's good, man. Well, coming along with all your work, it's you also have a degree in education, and you do a lot of teaching, both at music lessons and also teaching at the ISENS is the
Immigrant Settlement Association of Nova Scotia. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. I used to have they had to unfortunately change the names a few years ago. But yeah, it's an association that supports immigrants and newcomers here to let them give them a little bit of a startup and overview of how things work in the planet of Canada, which is a complete for me it's like a different planet, right? Because you come here and everything is different, the cultural rules, the way everything the business works. But yeah, no, thank you for doing that. So you teach English there, right?
I do. Yeah.
How's that experience, man?
I started doing that shortly after I moved to Halifax. I would think, a year and a half or 2 years after I moved to Halifax. And it's been good. I got to meet a lot of people, and occasionally I get to meet some musicians. One time they had an actual jury where they had immigrant musicians do performances. and we did a mock those shows where America's Got Talent, or those things. So we have to talk to them and like pretend that we were judges, and that
Fun.
it was a lot of fun.
Actually, that's where we originally met
Yeah.
at Isons, like many years ago when I was attending to some of the
When was
workshops.
that? When did you come?
Oof,
Yeah.
that would have been 20. When I started going to Isons, would have been like 2011, maybe 2010, 2011.
10 years.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, and that's where we started kind of. And I didn't know you outside of you
Yes.
working there at the time, and then we connected with we got connected through a bass player,
Was it
Jorge.
yes.
Jorge, a Mexican, great, amazing bass
Yeah.
player. We used to play together at a project, and then when I decided to go on my own, he recommended you. As I asked him, "Well, man, what are your tips, right?" And you were one of the first one he mentioned, and then it ended up that we knew each other already. So, oh, perfect.
I played well enough to get the job.
Oh no, man, no. I feel like, honestly, I feel like I got the job because I'd say I have the feeling and somewhat I developed the ear of listening to music. My formal music formation is I mean it's limited compared to someone that has like formal training, but I can put together with the hearing and a little bit of writing or music reading.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was mostly the feel. I think it's hard to explain, but it's mostly the feel that you. Sometimes it's hard. It's a big challenge for me when I work with musicians with Flangache to try to not having all the technical tools to explain what you want, what is happening in your head. I find that a really challenge, a big challenge, and I find that the musicians I've worked with, including you, have been very supportive in kind of having patience first with me and then guiding me. Okay, so this is what you want, because sometimes obviously if you don't have the formal training, you might lack a little bit of the technicality to express and to be able to communicate. But I it's been great. I've learned a lot from that. And how do you connect that teaching world? I think this is a similar question to what I asked Dilshan a few weeks ago. How do you connect the teaching world uh, with the music? Well, for example, teaching at Isons, you're teaching English as a second language to a number of immigrants from different countries, different parts of the world, and it's not only you're not only communicating the language. You don't, because you can't teach the language on its own. You need to teach the culture, and there's a communication back and forth, interacting with the different cultures, and there's probably some interesting moments when you need to learn what the person is meaning, because they try to put maybe a sentence in English, but it responds to their background, to their cultural background. And how can you see if I can formulate this question better? How can you relate that teaching experience with people from different parts of the world that you interact with your diversity of taste for music? I mean, is there any way that you can connect that? For example, you've played with Iranian musicians, I believe.
Well,
And
I just started recently. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I've tried. Yeah. I've tried.
It's a really
Yeah.
beautiful. It's a beautiful. Is it with Sahid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saeed a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
And Muhammad?
yeah, Mohammed.
Yeah.
Quite a few times. Yeah.
It's
They're
just a
both
beautiful.
wonderful. Yeah.
Because there's a language behind that it is well, the culture is transferred either through the language or through the music, and I don't know, do you find any way to
Okay.
can you map that in your
Well,
brain somehow?
it comes from your association, your experience. I think I have a closer when I was studying teaching language too. There's a concept we talked about is called cultural distance.
Ah.
So some of the students that I come across, I feel much closer than in Spanish. I can communicate with them in Spanish, and maybe with like European languages, I might have it a little bit further, like Romanian or Italian or something, a little bit further cultural distance, and because I don't have as much experience with it, so relating musically to those people is a little easier than the Persian music that I've recently tried to get into with Mohammed. yeah, so that I don't have as much experience with that, much association. So, but what I learned today, I was actually teaching today, and I learned that basic rhythm. Almost everybody was getting this, was teaching some things about where you accent syllables, and to help with pronunciation, with the way students are pronouncing things. And I realized today that they're all getting it when I would clap something, or use the syllables la la. Like if you have a 2-syllable word and you want for today we had dispose, like dispose. So if I do la la, dispose, right? Oh, whatever things I want to do, or right, they get that so quickly than trying to formulate the exact way your mouth should go. I mean, it may be more of a rough way of getting them to pronounce it, but it was work. You could see that it was connecting with all 7 or 8 of the students, right? If you could model that, right? So
That's very interesting because there's also in probably I don't know what field of social sciences or but like the musicality of languages, right? And then that maybe every single language they have their own accent, and then it could somewhat relate to their music, that they do, and I find that really interesting. I like that idea of the clapping to mimic the how would you say
the accent,
the accent of
the strong syllable of the word,
Yeah.
right?
So
Like for example, the produce and produce, right? The same
Gotcha.
spelling, same word. So that kind of thing,
Yeah.
whether the accent is, or
ha, interesting.
and I realized they like the la la better than they like the clapping today. Mostly, I mean, I didn't take a poll. Just my observation of
Interesting. Yeah. The
instead
one
of a teacher going blah 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 blah, you're actually putting some almost music, I guess,
Yeah.
some rhythm.
So maybe
Yeah.
you're pulling some of the resources of music or music teaching into that.
Yeah, and I think all English teachers do this to some extent. I mean, it's part of the training to work on pronunciation like this. So.
Mhm.
And I taught music too, so that's going to come in. But I try not to. I know other teachers who use music more than me,
Oh, okay.
and like sing songs with their students and make songs with their students, and just because I've done a lot of that for work. I don't know. I've never felt like to bring that into the classroom
because you're shy to sing. That's why.
That's part of it. That's part of it. But I'm not so shy about playing. So I know other English teachers who bring a guitar in and will play for them and get them. And students, of course, they like that. I mean, they're going to be shy students too, but still, they usually like to listen to what's going on, and it's helpful, I think.
It's very interesting because actually, in my case, growing up, my mother she used to be an English teacher. She may feel embarrassed, but she's probably watching. Hi, mom. Hola, mommy. So, well, she gave us tips when me and my brother gave us tips when we were kids, and a little bit of English at the end of elementary school in Cuba. But definitely, the most I enjoyed and learned faster English language was through music, listening to. And when I was in the probably after the end of high school, and I was listening a lot in that. Some of the newer generations don't even know what this is, but back in the 90s, there used to be like these boxes. They used to be called Walkman. That used to play like video cassettes, and you hear like you use like you wear like the earphones. Anyway, that was back in the days. But yeah, I used to listen a lot to the Beatles, and the Beatles, they're very catchy, and they're sort of like most of the times their hits are very simple songs in the language, and their pronunciation is very very precise. So I found that listening to the Beatles, it was like a huge jump into my comprehension and ability to speak the language. And yeah, that's a way
it's a familiar story too. I've heard a lot of people say that some of the best speakers, the ones who progress the fastest, I asked them, how did you learn so fast? After 2 years, I watched movies. I like movies. I watched a lot of English movies, listen to the Beatles, listen to English songs.
Yeah.
So.
I heard that I think in Korea, probably in China as well. Uh, some of the young kids they grow up listening to channels in English by spoken by native, and they become so good at listening that they from their own country they learn the language with almost, I mean, none to very little accent, just by
Mhm.
listening. I find that I really I heard that many years ago, I believe from a Korean friend, and I think that I found that fascinating. And the first episode I did with a music therapist, um, that was it was really interesting, and I mentioned to her the what is called the Orf Chant, which was like a methodology that was developed by Orf. I think it was a German musician back in the early 20th century, where he developed this program that to teach kids things through music and dance, and that would improve their connection, and and they would get to get they would learn the knowledge, whatever is being taught to them, faster through movement
Mhm.
and clapping and playing and singing. And I think that's like a probably 100, at least 100 years old, like testament of that. So yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, man. So yeah, we all miss the weather's getting better. We all miss the pre-pandemic times, but we're getting back together. You have worked with some musicians. You put the show together back in October with Holy Arsenal, and what other projects are you currently working on that people
Okay.
can catch up with you?
Well, mostly with the church right now,
Mhm.
the St. Andrew's United Church. I've been working there with the musical director Kevin Parks for a long time, since near the beginning when I moved to Halifax, which was 2004. Uh, so I produced and recorded a song for the departing minister there, which was fun. We had our band there, our house band, uh, which includes five great singers. So I had five singers, and we had I think a four-piece horn section record on it, and rhythm section, of course, drums, bass,
Was that live
keys.
live recording on
We
the?
did it multi-track. We did I think three sessions. We did one was the bed track of just the rhythm, bass, drums, piano, and guitar. And then the next thing we did were I wrote a horn arrangement for it, and so we had the four-piece horn section come in. Three people we did overdubs. Uh, then the vocalists put their stuff on top of that, and yeah, it's yeah. So that was fun. I hadn't done some recording like that in quite a while, so it was fun. I'm hoping to do something there this later this month or within the next few weeks, if if it works out, because it's a beautiful space. They have a great grand piano there, and the St. Andrew's Church sounds great. So it's kind of been the place where I've got to make some music over the last year, and with you, we did a few things last year. We did a multicultural fest
Yeah,
down on the waterfront, if you remember that.
yeah, yeah. Of course,
And
that was
people could
fun.
walk by, and we were in like a shipping container,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah.
forget what it was called. It had a name, and a lot of things were done there on the waterfront in that shell or in that shipping container. People would
Yes.
walk by, and you could.
Too bad they didn't ship us somewhere, right? If it
Yeah.
just, yeah, winter was coming at the after, I mean, or it was the end of summer.
Mhm.
Cheapest for a warm place.
Mhm.
But anyway, it's yeah, no, it's fun, and we did the Celtic Festival
Yeah.
in which
I got to do the Halifax Jazz Festival last June. I think I was doing some recordings for that with Holly Arsenal's group, the trio. Uh, yeah, so there've been a few things that that keep you active, but I think I'm lucky to have a lot of connections in Halifax. So I look at it that if you want to do something, you can. Right, there are people there that want to do things, and if you can muster up the energy for it and find the people that are willing to go in on it with you. That's what happened with the recording I got to do. There's this original song that I wrote for the departing minister, and I got five singers to to come in on it, and these other musicians to come in on it. So it was nice to work with so many people too during this kind of restriction time.
Yeah.
I mean, we couldn't do it all together because we would have been 12 people in a small. Well, it's not very small there, but that's another reason we did it multi-track.
Yeah.
It was a good experience. I kind of haven't done as much of that as the live stuff.
Yeah. I think that's interesting, like the how through the pandemic, you were still able to limited sort of, but through your work position and engagement with the church, have kind of like your own little bubble and community to support each other there, right?
We did, yeah. We play a lot of different styles too, really, as far as folk music, music from popular music is what this band usually does. It's not what you would envision as church music. Right? We do that too. But we're kind of, the specialty of this band is it's called the Mostly Righteous, and we do popular pop music, really pop folk music from country music, John Prine, Bob Dylan,
Sweet,
all kinds of. So it's fun to take a different song every week, or I think in a couple of weeks we're doing 4 or 5 in one service. So
that's amazing, man.
One's a Michael Jackson tune too. So.
Well, who's singing there? That's a challenge. That's challenging.
Singing, we've got Dana Lynn Farrow, who is she's in a lot of choirs around town, Aeolian singers, and she sings a lot.
Beautiful.
Shelley Meisner, you did the piece with 2 weeks ago, right? Last week?
Last week, okay. It was the last.
Peter Bayless. I don't know if you know Peter Bayless, but he's been around for a long time here and singing. A lot of people. Hopping Penguins was the name of his big. But he's playing. His band is playing in the North End. I forget the name of the venue, but there's some music happening now, live music happening around.
Yeah.
Mike Cowie is down at the Pacifico on George Street. I think 2 nights a week or something. So there's live music. If you want to hear live music, there's some around. That is
still limited, but it's happening.
It's permitted.
Yeah.
With social distancing and no exposures from it. So
excellent, man. Anything else you want to share with us today before we?
No, this was fun. Thanks for inviting me, and
thank you, absolutely. And talking about it's always a pleasure, man, to talk to you. I feel, as I said before, I'm the one that feels lucky. Talking about music and song, the previous song, the song we did at the beginning, it was a chant, like a very known song, and from the iconic Buena Vista Social Club. It was written by Compay Segundo, and it's a song that a lot of people perform, and we perform in the band Planache. Chant, just because we missed saying that at the beginning, but hopefully some of the people stuck. And I don't know if you want to do a little teaser for the end. The No Se Asmala?
No,
we can go one verse on that. I just you got the bass here, and I just recently just dusted off my my nylon string guitar.
Is this the first interview you've done outside?
Actually, Hopefully now with the summer coming, it's gonna be more coming. Anyway, so this one is called No Seas Mala, Don't Be Mean. It's by one of my favorite singer-songwriters in Cuba, Kelvis Ochoa, which I was lucky to meet like a couple of 3-4 years ago in Havana briefly. Probably doesn't remember me, but I do remember him. Anyway, No Seas Mala, which is a little teaser from it. Ya te estoy queriendo y tus ojos negros se me están metiendo tan dentro que solo un momento de tenerte cerca ya ya yo me lo siento. No alcanzo para la madrugada, el silencio negra te pedí. No me digas que te deje en paz, no me pidas. Y es que si supieras que tu amor contamina todo para mí, negra que yo espero, por favor, no seas mala. No alcanzo para la madrugada, en silencio negra te pedí. No me digas que te deje en paz, no me pidas. Es que si supieras que tu amor contamina todo para mí, negra que yo espero, por favor, no seas mala. No seas mala, no seas mala, no seas mala, no seas celosa, negrita linda, no seas mala, no seas mala. Ay, negra linda, mira, morena, no seas mala, no seas mala. Mira que yo quiero que me pongas la mesa buena. Ponme mi café con leche tempranito en la mañana. No seas mala, por favor, Juliana, no seas mala. No seas mala, no seas celosa, nenita linda. No seas mala, no seas mala. No seas mala. Gracias, Chris. Okay, see you guys next in a couple of days, actually, with a very special guest, Jamila. Okay, thank you for sticking out here, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, Chris, and nos vemos.
Gracias.